The scanner readings made no sense at all. Rax pressed his crystalline fingers against the control panel and checked the numbers again. Empty space should not give off energy signals like this. The readings showed massive power sources where star charts marked nothing but void. "Nira, come look at this," he called to his partner. The fox-like alien padded over on silent feet. Her pointed ears twitched as she studied the display. "These readings are impossible. Nothing lives out here in the outer rim." "That is what I thought too," Rax said. His tall, translucent body caught the light from the scanner as he leaned forward. "But the energy signatures are real. Something big is hidden in this sector." Their small scout ship drifted through the darkness between stars. They had been sent by the Galactic Confederation to map this region of space. Most aliens considered the outer rim a wasteland. The few stars out here were dying or already dead. No one built colonies in such places. Nira's sharp eyes studied the data. Her people were known for their tactical minds, and something about these readings troubled her. "The power output is enormous. This is not some mining station or research outpost. Should we investigate?" Rax asked. As a diplomat, he always wanted to make contact with new civilizations. It was his nature to seek understanding rather than avoid the unknown. "Protocol says we should report back first," Nira replied, but her tail swished with curiosity. "However, we are already 3 weeks from the nearest Confederation base." Rax adjusted their course toward the energy source. Their ship was small and fast, designed for reconnaissance missions like this. As they drew closer, both aliens stared in amazement at what their sensors revealed. Massive structures floated in the darkness. Ships larger than anything in the Confederation fleet were connected by metal bridges and docking tubes. Orbital platforms surrounded what looked like a dying star system. The whole complex stretched for millions of kilometers in every direction. "By the Ancient Ones," Nira whispered, "this is not just a settlement. This is an empire." Rax increased magnification on their visual scanners. The structures were clearly artificial, but the design was unlike anything he had seen before. Angular metal shapes connected in complex patterns. Defensive platforms bristled with weapons that looked both advanced and deadly. "Look at those ship designs," Nira said, pointing at the display. "I have never seen anything like them in our databases." "Neither have I," Rax admitted. "But wait, some of these markings look familiar." He enhanced the image further. On the hull of one massive vessel, they could make out symbols and letters. The writing was faded but still readable. "Those are human markings," Rax said quietly. Nira's ears flattened against her head. "That cannot be right. Humans have been extinct for over 200 years. Their homeworld was destroyed in the Great War." "The records say they vanished after Earth fell," Rax agreed. "But look at this evidence. These are definitely human ships and human technology." They watched in silence as small craft moved between the larger vessels. Traffic patterns showed this was an active, living civilization. Lights glowed in windows of the habitat modules. This was not some ancient ruin or abandoned outpost. "If humans really survived," Nira said slowly, "why did they never make contact? Why hide out here in the dead zones?" Rax had been wondering the same thing. Perhaps they had good reasons. The Great War destroyed many worlds. Maybe they decided isolation was safer. As they observed, more details became clear. The humans had built their empire around the remnants of a collapsed star system. They were using the gravity wells and radiation for cover. From a distance, the whole complex would be nearly invisible to most scanners. "This is very clever positioning," Nira admitted. "They chose this location well. No one would think to look for a civilization here." "But why so many weapons?" Rax asked. Every ship and platform they could see was heavily armed. This was not a peaceful colony, but a military fortress. "That is what worries me," Nira replied. "These humans have been building their strength in secret for 2 centuries. What are they preparing for?" Their passive scanners picked up more details. Manufacturing centers were producing ships and weapons at an incredible rate. Training facilities showed humans practicing combat in zero gravity. Everything they saw suggested a civilization focused on war. "We need to get closer," Rax decided. "We cannot report back to the Confederation without more information." "That could be dangerous," Nira warned. "If they have been hiding this long, they might not welcome visitors." "But think of the implications," Rax said. "Humans were one of the founding species of the old alliance. If they survived, the galaxy needs to know." Nira considered this. Her military training told her to be cautious, but her curiosity was stronger. "Very well. But we approach carefully. and we prepare for trouble. They moved their scout ship closer to the human empire. Almost immediately, their sensors detected movement. Fast attack craft were launching from hidden bays. The humans had spotted them. So much for staying unnoticed, Nira muttered. She powered up their ship's defensive systems. Wait, Rax said. They are not attacking. Look at their formation. The human ships had surrounded them, but they maintained a safe distance. It was clearly a military response, but not an aggressive one. Professional and controlled, a communications signal reached their ship. The voice that spoke was human, but the accent was strange. 2 centuries of isolation had changed their speech patterns. Unknown vessel, you have entered restricted space. State your identity and intentions. Rax activated their transmitter. This is Scout Ship Aurora of the Galactic Confederation. I am Rax of the Crystal Domains, and my partner is Nira of the Flame Worlds. We come in peace. There was a long pause. When the human voice returned, it sounded surprised. Confederation? That name has not been heard here for a very long time. Maintain your current position. You will be escorted to our command vessel. The human ships formed up around them in perfect military precision. As they were guided toward the largest structure in the complex, both aliens realized they were about to make first contact with a lost human civilization. A civilization that had spent 200 years preparing for something. What that something was, they were about to find out. The docking bay was enormous. Rax and Nira watched through their viewports as massive doors opened to reveal a space large enough to hold 50 ships their size. Mechanical arms guided their small scout vessel to a landing platform, while dozens of human technicians worked on other craft nearby. Look at their equipment, Nira observed. Everything is more advanced than our current technology. The humans who approached their ship wore uniforms that seemed both familiar and strange. The basic design followed old military patterns from before the Great War, but the materials and equipment were clearly more sophisticated. Admiral Kane waited for them in the airlock. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to take in every detail. His uniform bore insignia that Rax recognized from historical records, but the rank structure had evolved during their isolation. Welcome aboard the Fortress Prime, Admiral Kane said. His handshake was firm when he greeted Rax, and he nodded respectfully to Nira. It has been a long time since we had visitors from the galaxy. 212 years. To be exact, replied a woman who joined them. She was introduced as Dr. Reed, their chief historian and scientist. We have been keeping track. As they walked through the corridors of the massive ship, both aliens noticed how different this place felt from Confederation vessels. The walls were thicker, the design more robust. Everything seemed built to last through long conflicts. You have questions, I am sure, Admiral Kane said as he led them to a conference room. We have questions too. Tell us about this Galactic Confederation. Rax explained how the surviving species had rebuilt civilization after the Great War. New alliances had formed, trade routes had been established, and peace had lasted for over a century. Most aliens believed humans had vanished completely when Earth fell. Peace. Dr. Reed repeated the word like it was foreign to her. How interesting. We assumed the galaxy was still at war. Why would you think that? Nira asked. Admiral Kane and Dr. Reed exchanged glances. Because that is what we were told would happen, Kane said carefully. Before Earth fell, our leaders predicted the war would continue for centuries. The war ended, Rax assured them. The machine intelligences were defeated. The aggressive species either joined the peace or were contained in their own territories. Were they? Dr. Reed asked. She activated a holographic display that showed star charts. Then explain these signals we have been monitoring. The display showed movement patterns far beyond the edge of known space. Massive objects were approaching the galaxy from the void between galaxies. The trajectory would bring them into inhabited systems within months. Nira studied the data with growing alarm. These readings suggest an invasion force. But from where? Nothing lives in intergalactic space. Machine intelligences do, Admiral Kane said grimly. The same kind that destroyed Earth. We have been tracking them for 50 years. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans had not just been hiding. They had been watching and preparing for the return of their greatest enemy. The Confederation needs to know about this, Rax said urgently. Does it? Dr. Reed asked. What has the Confederation done for humanity? When Earth burned, no one came to help us. When our colonies were attacked, no alien fleet appeared to assist. We learned we could only depend on ourselves. That was different, Rax protested. The war was chaos. Communication was cut. Many species were fighting for their own survival. Perhaps, Admiral Kane said. But the lesson was clear. If humanity was to survive, we had to be strong enough to stand alone. They were given a tour of the ship's facilities. The humans had built more than just a military force. They had created a complete civilization designed around warfare. Children learned combat alongside mathematics. Engineers designed weapons as well as life support systems. Every aspect of their society was focused on preparation for the coming battle. Your people have sacrificed much. Nira observed as they watched human soldiers training in zero-gravity combat. Sacrifice implies we had a choice, Dr. Reed replied. We did what was necessary to survive. Every generation has known that someday, the enemy would return. In the ship's manufacturing center, they saw the full scope of human industrial capacity. Automated factories produced ships, weapons, and equipment at an incredible rate. The humans had spent 2 centuries perfecting the art of war production. How many ships do you have? Nira asked. Enough, Admiral Kane answered. More than the old Earth fleet ever had, but possibly not enough for what is coming. Captain Walsh joined them in the war room where massive displays showed the positions of the approaching enemy. He was younger than the Admiral, but carried himself with the confidence of someone who had spent his life preparing for this moment. The machines have learned too, Captain Walsh explained. These are not the same enemies we fought at Earth. They have been building their strength in the dark between galaxies. When they arrive, they will be more dangerous than anything the galaxy has ever faced. What do you plan to do? Rax asked. What we have always planned to do, Admiral Kane said. Fight and win. But surely you cannot face such a threat alone, Rax said. Even with all this preparation, you will need allies. Will we? Dr. Reed asked. The galaxy forgot about us easily enough. Why should we trust them now? Because this threat is bigger than old grievances, Nira said firmly. If these machines are as dangerous as you believe, every species will need to work together. Admiral Kane studied the 2 aliens for a long moment. You seem different from the diplomats we remember. More practical, less concerned with politics than with survival. We have learned much in 2 centuries of peace, Rax admitted, but perhaps not enough about war. Then you have a choice to make, Admiral Kane said. You can return to your confederation and warn them about what is coming. Try to convince them to prepare for a war they do not believe will happen, or you can stay here and help us get ready for the real fight. The weight of the decision hung in the air. Both aliens realized they had stumbled into something much larger than a simple reconnaissance mission. They had found a lost human empire that might be the galaxy's only hope against a returning nightmare. How long do we have? Nira asked. Captain Walsh checked his displays. Based on current approach vectors, 6 months. Maybe 7 if we are lucky. Not much time to prepare an entire galaxy for war, Rax said quietly. No, Admiral Kane agreed. But perhaps enough time to make a difference. The question is whether you trust us enough to try. Dr. Reed guided them through the research levels of the massive ship. Here, scientists worked on projects that pushed the boundaries of known physics. Weapons that could phase through energy shields. Armor that adapted to incoming fire. Technologies that seemed impossible by Confederation standards. How did you develop all this? Rax asked as they watched a demonstration of a rifle that fired rounds through dimensional folds. Necessity, Dr. Reed replied simply. When you know your enemy will return stronger than before, you find ways to become stronger too. They passed laboratories where humans were testing enhanced soldiers. Men and women moved with speed and precision that seemed superhuman. Their reflexes were faster, their strength greater, their endurance seemingly unlimited. Genetic modification, Nira guessed. Among other things, Dr. Reed confirmed. We learned that purely human capabilities would not be enough. So we made ourselves better. The next area they visited made both aliens uncomfortable. Children as young as 10 were learning combat tactics alongside their regular education. They practiced with training weapons and studied the weaknesses of machine intelligences with the same focus other children might give to art or music. This seems harsh, Rax observed quietly. Reality is harsh, Captain Walsh said, joining their tour. These children will face an enemy that shows no mercy. They need to be ready. But what kind of society does this create? Rax asked. Where is the beauty, the culture, the things that make life worth living? Dr. Reed stopped walking and turned to face him. Come with me. Let me show you something. She led them to an observation deck that looked out into space. But instead of the void, they saw gardens. Massive habitat rings rotated slowly around the central complex, their transparent sections revealing parks, forests, and even lakes. We have not forgotten beauty, Dr. Reed said softly, but we have learned that beauty must be protected. Culture must be defended. The things that make life worth living are meaningless if life itself is destroyed. Children played in the gardens under artificial suns. Artists created sculptures that captured the light from the dying stars. Musicians composed symphonies that could be heard throughout the habitat rings. But even here, the reminders of their mission were present. Memorial walls honored those lost at Earth. Training centers prepared the next generation. We are not just warriors, Dr. Reed continued. We are the guardians of human civilization. Everything we do to ensure that humanity survives. Captain Walsh brought them to the Strategic Planning Center. Here, human military minds had spent decades analyzing every detail of the coming threat. Models showed predicted attack patterns, defensive strategies, and worst-case scenarios that made both aliens shudder. The machines learn from every encounter, Captain Walsh explained. Each time we fought them, they adapted. By the time Earth fell, they had countered every strategy we used. So how do you plan to defeat them now? Nira asked. By becoming something they cannot predict, Captain Walsh said. Something they have never faced before. He showed them recordings of human soldiers in action. But these were not the humans from the old war. These fighters moved like liquid mercury, adapting to any situation instantly. Their equipment shifted and changed based on the threat they faced. Their tactics were unpredictable because they were improvised in real time. Flexibility has become our greatest weapon, Captain Walsh said. The machines plan for every possibility they can calculate, but they cannot plan for chaos controlled by intelligence. Admiral Kane arrived as they were reviewing the tactical displays. What do you think of our preparations? He asked the two aliens. Impressive, Nira admitted, but also terrifying. You have turned your entire civilization into a weapon. Yes, Admiral Kane said without apology, because that is what survival required. But at what cost? Rax asked. What happens after the war is won? How do you return to being a peaceful society? We will deal with that problem when it comes, Admiral Kane replied. First, we must ensure there is an after. Dr. Reed activated a new display showing the full scope of human preparations. Fleets hidden throughout the outer rim, weapon platforms disguised as asteroids, manufacturing facilities that could build an entire armada in months. The scale was staggering. You have been preparing for total war, Nira said. Because that is what we will face, Captain Walsh confirmed. The machines do not negotiate. They do not retreat. They consume everything in their path until nothing remains. The Confederation does not understand this, Rax said slowly. They have lived in peace for so long they have forgotten what real war looks like. Which is why they will not be ready, Admiral Kane said. When the machines arrive, the galaxy will fall just as Earth did. Unless something changes, you could warn them, Rax suggested. Send representatives to explain the threat. Could we? Dr. Reed asked. What proof do we have that they would believe? What reason do they have to trust humans who vanished centuries ago? And even if they believed us, Captain Walsh added, how long would it take them to prepare? Years, decades. We have months. The harsh reality of the situation was becoming clear. The galaxy was unprepared for what was coming. The humans were ready, but they were only one species, and they had been changed by their long preparation into something that other species might fear as much as the machines. There is another problem, Admiral Kane said quietly. Our intelligence networks have been monitoring Confederation space for years. Your people have grown soft, comfortable. They have forgotten how to fight wars like this. You have been spying on us? Rax asked. We have been watching for threats, Dr. Reed corrected. The machines were not the only enemy humans faced. We learned to trust only ourselves. Nira studied the strategic displays with growing understanding. You do not just see the machines as the enemy, do you? You see everyone as a potential threat. Experience taught us that lesson, Admiral Kane said. When Earth burned, no one came to help. When our colonies were attacked, we faced the enemy alone. The galaxy chose to let humanity die rather than risk their own safety. That is not what happened, Rax protested. The war was chaos. Communication was broken. No one knew where anyone else was. Perhaps, Admiral Kane said, but the result was the same. Humanity learned that we could depend only on ourselves, and we became stronger for it. The tour continued through areas that showed the full transformation of human society. Schools that taught strategy alongside science, factories that produced art as well as ammunition, hospitals that healed both bodies and minds damaged by the constant preparation for war. You have created something unprecedented, Nira said as they returned to the conference room. A civilization that is both beautiful and terrible. We have created what was necessary, Dr. Reed replied. The question now is what happens next. Admiral Kane settled into his chair and studied the two aliens carefully. You have seen what we have become. You understand the threat we face. Now you must decide what you will do with this knowledge. The weight of choice hung heavy in the room. Two aliens had stumbled onto a secret that could change the fate of the galaxy. A lost human empire preparing for the return of humanity's greatest enemy. The question was whether the galaxy was ready to learn that salvation might come from the very species they had forgotten. Admiral Kane activated a secure communication channel that connected to human outposts throughout the galaxy. As the holographic display filled with intelligence reports, both aliens realized the scope of the human surveillance network. They had been watching everything. For decades, we have monitored every major civilization in the galaxy, Admiral Kane explained. Not out of hostility, but out of necessity. We needed to know if the machines returned while we were rebuilding. The reports painted a disturbing picture. Confederation fleets were designed for patrol duties and piracy suppression, not major warfare. Their ships were lightly armed and built for comfort rather than combat. Most importantly, their military thinking had not evolved beyond the small conflicts of the past century. Look at these deployment patterns, Captain Walsh said, highlighting the display. They scatter their forces across thousands of systems. When the machines arrive, they will face them piecemeal and be destroyed one fleet at a time. The Confederation learned the wrong lessons from peace, Dr. Reed observed. They believed that superior technology and diplomatic solutions can resolve any conflict. But you believe differently, Nira said. We know differently, Admiral Kane corrected. We fought the machines before. We know what they are capable of. Rax studied the intelligence reports with growing concern. If this information is accurate, the galaxy is completely unprepared. But surely if you shared your intelligence, they would understand the threat. Would they? Admiral Kane asked. He activated another display showing Confederation military doctrine. Their current strategy assumes any major threat will give them months or years to mobilize. They plan to fall back to fortress worlds and negotiate from positions of strength. The machines do not negotiate, Captain Walsh said flatly. They consume. Every world they take makes them stronger. Every ship they capture becomes part of their fleet. Then what do you propose? Rax asked. Admiral Kane stood and walked to the main display. We propose a test. Of you and through you of the galaxy itself. The display shifted to show real-time sensor data from the edge of known space. The machine fleet was closer than they had initially calculated. Advanced scouts were already probing the outer systems. First contact will happen in 3 months, not 6, Admiral Kane announced. A Confederation research station in the frontier sector will be the first target. You have to warn them, Rax said urgently. We could, Admiral Kane agreed. But that would reveal our existence and our intelligence network. Once the Confederation knows we have been watching them, they will ask difficult questions about why we never made contact. And more importantly, Dr. Reed added, it would tell us nothing about whether they can actually fight when the time comes. The test Admiral Kane proposed was both simple and terrible. They would allow the machine scouts to attack the research station, while human forces observed from hiding. Based on how the Confederation responded, they would decide whether to reveal themselves as allies or prepare to fight alone. You want to let innocent beings die to test military readiness, Rax said, his crystalline form flickering with distress. We want to learn whether the galaxy can be saved, Admiral Kane replied. If the Confederation cannot handle a small scouting force, they will be no help against the main fleet. But if they fight well? Nira asked. Then we reveal ourselves and offer alliance, Captain Walsh said. But on our terms. The galaxy will need to accept that humanity has changed. We are no longer the species they remember. The moral weight of the decision pressed down on both aliens. They were being asked to become accessories to an attack that would cost lives. But they were also being offered a chance to save the galaxy from a threat it did not understand. There is another consideration, Dr. Reed said quietly. Our projections show that even with perfect coordination, the combined fleets of the galaxy have only a 60% chance of victory against the machines. Without proper preparation, that drops to less than 20%. What if there was another option? Rax asked. What if you revealed yourselves now and helped prepare defenses for the research station? Then we lose the element of surprise, Admiral Kane said. And we reveal our capabilities to any machine intelligences that might be monitoring Confederation communications. Captain Walsh brought up tactical displays showing the approaching machine scouts. 3 vessels, each the size of a Confederation cruiser, but with capabilities that far exceeded anything in the current galactic fleet. These are just the advance units, Captain Walsh explained. But they will be enough to overwhelm any normal defense. The research station has 2 patrol ships and a defensive platform. Against machine technology, they might last 10 minutes. Unless they run, Nira said. The machines are faster, Dr. Reed replied, and they learn from every encounter. If the Confederation ships flee immediately, it tells us they have no fighting spirit. If they try to fight and fail quickly, it tells us they have courage but lack capability. And if they fight well? Rax asked. Then we learn something new about what the galaxy has become in our absence, Admiral Kane said. Something that might change our plans. The waiting was the hardest part. For 2 days, they monitored long-range sensors as the machine scouts approached the frontier sector. Confederation patrol ships continued their normal routes, completely unaware of the approaching threat. They have no idea what is coming, Nira observed as they watched the tactical display. No, Admiral Kane agreed, which makes this a perfect test of their instincts and training. The research station was called Deep Sky Laboratory. It housed 300 scientists and support staff from a dozen different species. They were studying stellar formation in the region. Completely peaceful work that had never involved military considerations. Those people have families, Rax said quietly. Children who are waiting for them to come home. Every human who died at Earth had families too, Dr. Reed replied. Every colonist who was consumed by the machines was someone's child, parent, or partner. War does not respect the innocent. As the machine scouts entered the outer edge of the system, automated alarms finally activated. The 2 patrol ships moved to intercept while the research station began emergency evacuation procedures. Now we see what your galaxy has learned, Admiral Kane said. The battle was brief and decisive. The Confederation patrol ships opened fire with energy weapons that had no effect on machine hulls. The defensive platform launched missiles that were intercepted by point defense systems. Within 6 minutes, both patrol ships were destroyed and the defensive platform was offline. Pathetic, Captain Walsh muttered. But then something unexpected happened. Instead of panicking, the research station crew coordinated their evacuation with precision that impressed even the human observers. They prioritized the most valuable research data and personnel, organized transport ships efficiently, and even managed to broadcast a warning to nearby systems before the machines reached them. Look at that coordination, Nira said with approval. They may not know how to fight, but they know how to think under pressure. The evacuation ships scattered in different directions, making it impossible for the machine scouts to pursue them all. Most of the station personnel escaped, though the station itself was lost along with years of research. Interesting, Admiral Kane said thoughtfully. They cannot fight, but they can adapt quickly to disaster. It suggests potential, Dr. Reed agreed. With proper training and equipment, these people might become effective allies. Captain Walsh was less optimistic. Training takes time we do not have. And even with the best equipment, courage in retreat is not the same as courage in attack. The test had given them information, but not clear answers. The Confederation had shown intelligence and adaptability, but also a complete lack of military capability against advanced threats. So what do we decide? Rax asked. Admiral Kane studied the tactical displays for a long moment. We decide that the galaxy might be worth saving after all, but only if we can find a way to make them strong enough to help, rather than just being more targets for the machines. And how do we do that? Nira asked. By giving you a choice, Admiral Kane said, turning to face both aliens. You can return to the Confederation and warn them about what is coming. Try to convince them to prepare for war. Or you can stay here and help us develop a strategy that might actually work. The weight of galactic survival rested on their decision. Two aliens who had come looking for empty space had found the key to the future. The question was whether they were brave enough to use it. The decision came easier than either alien expected. After witnessing the destruction of Deep Sky Laboratory, both Rax and Nira understood that returning to warn the Confederation would accomplish nothing. The galaxy needed more than warnings. It needed a completely new approach to warfare. "We will stay," Rax announced. "But we want to help develop a real strategy, not just watch from the sidelines." Admiral Kane smiled for the first time since they had met him. "Good. We will need every advantage we can get." Dr. Reed assigned them quarters and access codes to the human database systems. For the first time in centuries, aliens would have full access to human military planning. The trust was both significant and practical. If they were going to work together, secrecy would only get in the way. Nira proved invaluable in the strategy sessions. Her tactical mind grasped concepts that had taken human planners years to develop. She also brought fresh perspectives on how different alien species might react under pressure. "The problem with most Confederation species," she explained during a planning meeting, "is that they think in terms of individual ship combat. They have never developed fleet-level tactics for major warfare." "Can they learn?" Captain Walsh asked. "Some can," Nira replied. "My own people, the Flameborn, have strong military traditions. The Crystal Domains have excellent defensive strategies. But species like the Traders and the Garden Worlds have no concept of total war." Rax contributed his knowledge of galactic politics and communication networks. His diplomatic experience helped the humans understand how information flowed between different species and how decisions were made at the Confederation level. "The biggest challenge will be convincing them to accept human leadership," Rax explained. "Many species still remember humans as the aggressive newcomers who started the Great War." "We did not start that war," Dr. Reed said firmly. "We were defending ourselves against machine infiltration." "I know that now," Rax replied. "But changing 2 centuries of historical interpretation will not be easy." The war planning took on new urgency as long-range sensors detected more machine activity. The main fleet was still months away, but advanced forces were beginning to probe multiple systems along the galactic rim. "They are testing our responses," Captain Walsh observed, as reports came in of attacks on mining stations and trade outposts, "learning our capabilities and weaknesses." "Which means we need to give them false information," Nira suggested. "Make them think the galaxy is weaker than it really is." "Or stronger," Admiral Kane said thoughtfully. "What if we used some of our hidden assets to respond to these probes? Not enough to reveal our full capabilities, but enough to make the machines uncertain." The strategy they developed was complex and risky. Human ships would respond to machine attacks, but they would disguise themselves as advanced Confederation vessels. This would convince the machines that the galaxy had better defenses than expected, while also demonstrating human capabilities to alien observers. "The key is making it look like natural technological development," Dr. Reed explained as they planned the first intervention. "Not like a completely different civilization has emerged." Their first test came when machine scouts attacked a trade convoy near the border worlds. 3 cargo ships and their escorts were under attack by a single machine vessel that was systematically destroying them. A human strike team moved in under stealth. Their ship appeared to be a modified Confederation cruiser, but its weapons and tactics were pure human innovation. The machine scout was destroyed in minutes, but not before it transmitted data about the encounter. "Perfect," Captain Walsh said as they analyzed the results. "The machines now think the Confederation has developed new weapon technologies. But any aliens who witnessed the battle will remember that help came when they needed it." Similar interventions followed over the next few weeks. Human forces appeared at critical moments, always disguised as advanced Confederation units, always arriving just in time to prevent disaster. The pattern was subtle but effective. Rax monitored Confederation communications and reported growing confusion among alien leaders. They know something has changed, but they cannot figure out what. Some think it is new technology. Others believe hidden fleets have been revealed. "Good," Admiral Kane said. "Confusion is better than panic. When we finally reveal ourselves, they will already have seen proof that we are here to help." The real breakthrough came when Nira developed new tactical formations that combined human adaptability with alien strengths. Her plans used crystal domain defensive positions to anchor battle lines while flameborn raiders struck at machine flanks. Human ships provided the mobile reserve that could respond to any threat. This could actually work, Captain Walsh admitted as they ran simulations. If we can convince enough species to coordinate their efforts. That will require more than tactical planning, Rax warned. It will require political agreements between species that have been rivals for decades. Then we make the threat clear enough that they have no choice, Admiral Kane decided. Sometimes fear is a better motivator than hope. They were interrupted by urgent alerts from the sensor stations. The main machine fleet had been detected at the edge of the galaxy. The invasion had begun ahead of schedule. How long do we have? Dr. Reed asked. 6 weeks, maybe 7, Captain Walsh replied after studying the data. They are moving faster than our projections indicated. Then we move to the next phase, Admiral Kane announced. It is time to reveal ourselves to the galaxy. The revelation strategy they had developed was carefully planned. Instead of simply announcing their existence, they would demonstrate it through action. When the machines made their first major attack on a Confederation world, humanity would emerge from hiding to defend it. The target will probably be New Geneva, Nira predicted, studying machine approach vectors. It is the largest industrial world on their current course. 2 million inhabitants, Rax said quietly. If we are wrong about the timing, they all die. If we do nothing, they die anyway, Admiral Kane replied, along with everyone else in the galaxy. Preparations accelerated as human fleets moved into position around New Geneva. Thousands of ships emerged from hiding places throughout the Outer Rim, converging on the industrial world that would become the first major battleground. Look at them, Nira said with amazement as she watched the human fleet assembly. Every ship is different, but they all work together perfectly. The diversity of human designs was remarkable. Ships built for different purposes and different threats, but all following the same basic philosophy of adaptability and overwhelming firepower. No two vessels looked exactly alike, but they moved together like parts of a single organism. 2 centuries of innovation, Dr. Reed explained. We never stopped developing new ideas, new approaches, new solutions to old problems. The machines will not know how to counter this, Captain Walsh said with satisfaction. They plan for consistency and predictability. We are giving them chaos. As the machine fleet approached New Geneva, human forces positioned themselves throughout the system. Some ships hid among the asteroid belts, others used the gas giants' moons for cover. The largest vessels remained cloaked just outside the system's edge. When they arrive, we let them begin their attack, Admiral Kane explained to the gathered commanders. The Confederation defenders will fight as long as they can. Then we reveal ourselves and show the galaxy what humanity has become. And if the Confederation ships panic when they see us, Rax asked. Then we deal with that problem when it comes, Admiral Kane replied. But I suspect they will be too busy fighting for their lives to worry about old prejudices. The waiting was almost over. Soon the galaxy would learn that humanity had not just survived. They had thrived, adapted, and become something the machines had never faced before. The question was whether it would be enough to save everyone else. As the first machine scouts entered the New Geneva system, Admiral Kane gave the order that would change everything. All units, stand by. The real war begins now. The Battle of New Geneva began at dawn on the colony world below. Machine scouts swept through the outer system, their dark hulls absorbing sensor sweeps as they cataloged defenses. The Confederation fleet took defensive positions around the industrial platforms, their bright hulls gleaming in the light of the system's twin stars. Admiral Kane watched from the bridge of Fortress Prime as the enemy made their approach. Beside him, Rax and Nira monitored communications from the defending fleet. The alien commanders were calm and professional, but their tactical discussions revealed how unprepared they were for what was coming. They still think this is a raid, Nira observed as she listened to Confederation fleet channels. They are planning to drive off attackers, not fight for survival. They will learn quickly, Captain Walsh said grimly. His displays showed the true size of the machine fleet emerging from hyperspace. Hundreds of vessels, each one adapted and improved from their encounters with galactic civilizations over the centuries. The first clash came when Confederation patrol ships engaged the machine scouts. Energy weapons flared across the void as human observers watched their former allies fight with courage, but inadequate tools. The patrol ships lasted longer than expected, using tactics that showed real innovation. But the outcome was inevitable. Now, Admiral Kane commanded, human ships materialized throughout the system as their cloaking systems deactivated. The effect was dramatic. Where empty space had existed moments before, an entire fleet appeared ready for battle. Ships of designs no one had ever seen, weapons that defied conventional understanding, and formations that moved with perfect coordination. The Confederation fleet communications erupted in confusion. Alien commanders demanded identification from the newcomers, while their sensors tried to classify ship types that matched no known database. But the confusion lasted only moments before training took over. "Unknown vessels, this is Admiral Torres of the New Geneva Defense Force," came the transmission. "Identify yourselves and state your intentions." Admiral Kane activated the wideband communication system that would reach every ship in the system, as well as relay stations throughout the galaxy. When he spoke, his words would be heard by billions of beings across hundreds of worlds. "This is Admiral Kane of the Human Empire," he announced. "We know you forgot about us. We never forgot about you. The real war begins now." The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Every alien ship in the system tried to transmit questions at once while their crews struggled to understand how humans could have survived, let alone built such an advanced fleet. But the machines gave them no time for discussion. The enemy fleet charged forward with the mechanical precision that had destroyed Earth centuries ago. But they had never faced anything like the human response. Ships that could phase through energy barriers engaged at point-blank range. Weapons that adapted their frequency in real time bypassed shields that should have been impenetrable. Most importantly, human tactics were unpredictable because they changed constantly. "Look at them adapt," Nira said with admiration as she watched human squadrons respond to machine counterattacks. "Every time the enemy adjusts, they change their approach completely." Captain Walsh coordinated the battle from his position, but Admiral Kane noticed that human ship commanders were making independent decisions faster than any centralized command could manage. 2 centuries of preparation had created a military force that thought and acted like a single organism. "Confederation ships, this is Admiral Kane," he transmitted on the fleet command frequency. "Follow our lead and coordinate your attacks with ours. We know how to fight these enemies." The response surprised him. Instead of hesitation or argument, alien commanders immediately began adjusting their formations to support human tactics. Admiral Torres herself moved her flagship to cover a damaged human cruiser, while her escorts provided covering fire for a human assault group. "They are not questioning orders," Rex observed with amazement. "They are accepting human leadership without argument." "Survival has a way of clarifying priorities," Dr. Reed replied as she monitored the battle data. "When death is seconds away, old prejudices become meaningless." The tide of battle turned when human ships demonstrated capabilities that defied machine calculations. A destroyer that split into 6 independent fighters when attacked, a cruiser that regenerated damaged sections in minutes, a carrier that produced new combat drones faster than they could be destroyed. But the most shocking revelation came when the machines attempted their standard tactic of cyber warfare. Machine intelligences tried to infiltrate human computer systems, only to discover that human technology had evolved beyond anything they understood. "Impossible," Captain Walsh muttered, as he watched machine infiltration attempts fail completely. "Their cyber attacks are having no effect at all." "Because we designed our systems specifically to resist them," Dr. Reed explained. "Every human ship runs on hybrid organic digital networks that machine logic cannot comprehend." The battle reached its climax when the machine command vessel attempted to ram the New Geneva orbital station. Human ships swarmed the massive enemy craft, but it seemed unstoppable until Admiral Torres made a decision that stunned everyone watching. Her flagship, the Confederation's most advanced vessel, deliberately positioned itself between the machine ship and the station. The collision would destroy both vessels, but it would save 2 million lives on the station. Admiral Kane saw what was happening and acted without hesitation. Fortress Prime accelerated to maximum speed and fired every weapon it had at the machine command ship. The combined firepower of the massive human vessel tore through enemy defenses and crippled the machine ship just meters before impact. "Admiral Torres, your ship is badly damaged," Admiral Kane transmitted. "Request permission to take your crew aboard." "Permission granted," came the immediate reply. "And Admiral Kane?" Thank you. The evacuation of damaged Confederation ships became a joint operation as human and alien crews worked together to save lives. The crisis had broken down barriers that might have taken years of diplomacy to overcome. As the last machine vessels were destroyed or driven off, both fleets regrouped around New Geneva. The victory was complete, but everyone knew it was only the beginning. The main machine fleet was still approaching, and this had been just the advance force. Admiral Torres transmitted from her temporary quarters aboard Fortress Prime. I speak for the Confederation Defense Council when I say we need to talk. Agreed, Admiral Kane replied. But not just about tactics, about the future of the galaxy. Over the next several days, as human medical teams worked alongside alien doctors to treat the wounded, something unprecedented began to happen. Human and alien personnel found themselves working together naturally, sharing knowledge and resources without the formal protocols that usually governed interspecies cooperation. Look at this, Rax said, as he watched human engineers help repair a Confederation cruiser. They are not just allies, they are becoming friends. 2 centuries of isolation taught us the value of cooperation, Dr. Reed explained. We know what it means to stand alone. We do not want anyone else to face that. The political discussions were more complex. Representatives from across the galaxy arrived to meet with human leaders and try to understand what had changed. Some were suspicious of human motives. Others were angry about the deception. But most were simply grateful to learn they were not alone against the machine threat. The question now, Admiral Kane said during the main negotiation session, is whether the galaxy is ready to accept what humanity has become. What do you mean? Asked Counselor Vren of the Crystal Domains. We are no longer the species you remember, Admiral Kane replied honestly. We have been shaped by 2 centuries of preparation for this war. We are harder, more focused, more willing to make difficult choices than we used to be. But you are still human, Rax said quietly. You still value life. You still choose to protect others even when it costs you. Admiral Kane nodded. Yes, we are still human. But we are human warriors now. If the galaxy accepts our help, they accept that we will lead this war our way. The vote was closer than expected, but the result was clear. The Galactic Confederation formally requested alliance with the human empire and accepted human military leadership for the duration of the crisis. As preparation began for the arrival of the main machine fleet, Nira and Rax found themselves with new roles as liaison officers between human and alien forces. They had become bridges between civilizations that were learning to trust each other again. Do you think we can win? Rax asked as they watched combined fleets training together. Yes, Nira replied without hesitation. Not because of superior numbers or better technology, but because the machines planned for the galaxy they destroyed centuries ago. They never planned for what humanity became in the darkness. Admiral Kane stood on the observation deck of Fortress Prime, watching human and alien ships practice the formations that would decide the fate of the galaxy. Behind him, the lights of New Geneva twinkled like stars, representing the 2 million lives that had been saved and the billions more that still needed protection. The machines would come in overwhelming numbers. The final battle would test every innovation, every alliance, and every sacrifice of the past 2 centuries. But for the first time since Earth fell, humanity was not fighting alone. The galaxy had forgotten about humanity, but humanity had never forgotten about the galaxy. And now, in its darkest hour, the galaxy would learn what that meant. The real war was just beginning.